Namaskaram. In this video, I feel urged and compelled to give a piece of advice to Rahul Gandhi, who is an alumnus of St. Stephen's College, and I offer this advice to him in my capacity as a former principal of the college where he spent a full year as an undergraduate student. And my provocation in feeling obliged to offer this counsel to Rahul Gandhi is a particular video I happened to chance upon, and therefore in order to give you a context, let me share that video with you. It's fortunately a brief video.
Have you ever seen the Prime Minister have a conversation like this? Have you ever wondered? आपने कभी सोचा है कि प्रधानमंत्री प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस क्यों नहीं करते? ये मेरे लिए सुनिए, ये मेरे लिए पहले बड़ी सरप्राइजिंग चीज थी। मैं सोचता था कि इसके पीछे कोई मार्केटिंग की स्ट्रेटेजी है, कुछ है। फिर मैं भैया उनके साथ कमरे में बैठ गया 5 मिनट और बात समझ आ गई, भाई ये तो जा ही नहीं सकता मीडिया के सामने। ये तो वहीं का वहीं 5 मिनट में खत्म हो जाएगा। रियलिटी है, मैं आपको रियलिटी बता रहा हूं। तो रचनात्मक कांग्रेस का मतलब क्या है? आपको एक्सप्रेस करना है। आपने एलजीबीटी की बात की, आपने आदिवासियों की बात की। एक्सप्रेशन को दबाना नहीं है, कोई भी हो। और मैं आपको बात को और भी आगे ले जाता हूं। जिस दिन आरएसएस के एक्सप्रेशन को देश से खत्म करने की बात शुरू हुई, उस दिन मैं उनकी रक्षा करूंगा, क्योंकि उनका भी एक्सप्रेशन है। हमारा ये नहीं है, हम कह रहे हैं कि भैया सब लोगों का एक्सप्रेशन होना चाहिए। जो आपके दिल में, आप खुल के बोलो, डरने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है। आप किसी और को नहीं दबा सकते। आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि भैया देखो आप सिख हो तो आप गुरु नानक की बात नहीं कर सकते, आप मुसलमान हो तो आप अल्लाह की बात नहीं कर सकते, आप जैन हो तो आप महावीर की बात नहीं।
So this is the video that made me think very deeply and forced me inwardly to offer a piece of advice to Rahul Gandhi. So this entire video, the substance of this video is addressed to Rahul Gandhi, who is currently the leader of the opposition. Since Rahul Gandhi says that Modi avoids the press because of his insecurity, I offer him the following advice. Rahul, if what your diagnosis is correct and you believe in it, then you're obliged to be more charitable towards Modiji. And I offer you my reasons for saying so. I hope I have your ears and you will see this video in full. First of all, please understand what it means to be in a state of insecurity as you conclude that Modiji is. Psychologically, insecurity breeds a need to claim and celebrate excessive and extraordinary distinction for oneself. That is to say, one's inferiority complex is sought to be compensated through a superiority complex. Technically, this is called prestige psychology, the psychology of artificially creating prestige for oneself in order to make up for a deeply troubling inward sense of inadequacy and insecurity. And one obvious aspect of this is the compulsive need to impress others. So a person in this kind of psychological state will always have an irresistible need to impress everyone else, even if he is not in a position to do so. And let me offer, Rahul, for your instruction and edification, let me offer some indicators. Let me bring some indicators to your notice. Notice Modiji's obsession with his wardrobe. He comes from a very ordinary background, and I'm proud of that. I think a country that enables a person born in the circumstances in which Modiji was to reach the highest office in this country is a country that is truly great. Of that I have no doubt in my mind. But how do you account for Modi's obsession with his wardrobe? His tendency to show off his clothes. I'm told that he changes clothes 3 times a day and wears the most expensive clothes and personal paraphernalia. The idea is to impress, a tremendous need to impress everyone. The other indicator is his obsession with this cosmetic appearance. It's a great ritual to make Modi presentable in public. You would have seen video clippings on that, therefore I don't have to go into details. Another indicator is the desire to be seen by all and heard by all as often as possible, desire to be always in the eye of the public. But this will only be a one-way traffic. Modi would like to be heard, like to be seen, but he wouldn't like to listen to others, especially those who hold opinions different to his. And therefore, for a person in this kind of state, in a kind of what's called the prestige psychology state, it is a terrible offense to question him or to engage him in any conversation on equal terms. So this is something that, Rahul, you have to understand. Rahul, also please understand that a person who suffers from deep-seated insecurity, as you think Modi is, it's your conclusion, it's not my conclusion. I'm taking you on your diagnosis or your understanding of the person and the situation. As I said, will experience a compulsive need to make an impression, and therefore, as part of that, he will also invent merits for himself. He will magnify his merits, and he will also trumpet it to the whole world, and if possible, to the whole country, and if possible, to the whole world. That's why you have the debate about Modi's certificates and all the rest of it. It's a little embarrassing for me to go into those details, and therefore I glide over that as well. So Rahul, also please understand, you're a man of some understanding, otherwise I wouldn't have wasted my breath. Please understand that a person in this kind of state, as you think Modiji is, will have an insatiable thirst for recognition, for admiration, for adulation, and he would even want to be worshipped by the people, which is the ultimate compensation for this deep-seated sense of inferiority and insecurity. That's why this chant, Modi, 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 is the sweetest song very likely the sweetest song in Modi's ears. So Rahul, you have to be all the more humble if you don't have such a need. Rather than look down upon Modiji because he is in this state, you have to be humble. Thank God that you don't have this kind of psychological state. Furthermore, Rahul, even a school kid knows that a person suffering from inferiorities and insecurities will have an irresistible psychological need to denigrate, please understand, denigrate those of merit in comparison to him. Not only that, he experiences an irresistible need to inflate and invent his merits and to trumpet it to the whole world, say for example projecting himself as the savior of India, the God, or the Vishwaguru, etc., etc. Outlandish claims. There's a psychological component to this. So the other side just as a coin has two sides, the other side of the coin is the undeniable, irresistible need to denigrate those who are supposed to have merit in his proximity. So you should bear absolutely no grudge towards Modiji for denigrating you as a pappu or casting aspersions about your pedigree. I don't want to go into details because it's far too embarrassing for me to even mention the details. So the same psychological principle operates in Modi's compulsive need to eradicate Congress from the landscape of Indian democracy. So put the two things together. You're called Pappu because you activate Modi's sense of personal inferiority. Modi wants to eradicate Congress because he feels that his party is politically inferior to the Congress in terms of its track record, in terms of its glorious past, etc. So even an amateur psychologist will tell you that a person in such a psychological condition will look only for what is dark, inferior and objectionable in others. He will be willfully blind to any merit in others, especially those who are in the opposite camp. Rahul, given that, you cannot condemn a person for doing what he cannot help. If you have a spark of greatness in you, mind you, this is not my finding at all. I'm taking everything on your terms. I'm going by what you have diagnosed to be the truth about Narendra Modi, etc. This is not my finding. This is your opinion, and I'm responding to what you have said. So it is easy for you to say, as you say in this video, that everyone's voice must be heard. Everyone must have some space in this country. And you go to the extent, admirable extent, of saying that you will defend even the RSS if its existence is questioned or threatened. That's very natural to you. And I know that you are not playing to the gallery or, saying something for the heck of it. I know that you mean what you say because you are a true Democrat. The person that I know, the person that I have known for the last 30 years, I have no hesitation in believing that you're a Democrat at heart, and therefore I'm not surprised that you argue for a space to be allowed to everyone to express one's views without any intimidation or inhibition. But that doesn't mean that it should come naturally to Modiji also. As you yourself say, he suffers from insecurities. Tolerance of diversity comes only from a very high degree of emotional and intellectual security. Given that, how can you on the one hand say that Modiji suffers from inferiorities and insecurities, and on the other hand also insist that he should show to all people, particularly those who differ from him, the same degree of tolerance that you would extend to everyone? Surely, you can't insist that Modi should be a Rahul Gandhi. That's not fair. Now, let's move on. Rahul, please also understand that a person who is in the state you think Modiji is sure to have a desperate need to be other than himself. It's very common to come across people who despise themselves, who always wish that they were something other than themselves. And that is where Modi's claim that he is a person of non-biological origin becomes very significant. It's psychologically extremely apt. I refer to this because I have heard you on many occasions to ridicule Modiji on this count. At least I can remember 3 distinct occasions where you ridicule Modi on his claim that he is of non-biological descent. I am afraid, Rahul, that you don't understand the matter aright. There is something very poignant, very deeply heart-touching, heart-rending about it. It indicates a desire on the part of Modiji, indeed a need to die out of himself. The meaning is not that Modiji really believes that he is divine. The meaning is that he has a deep wish that he had been born in more exalted circumstances, like Rahul Gandhi himself was. So this can help you to understand charitably why Modi hates your so-called dynastic stock. You remember when you came on the scene, the great critique against you, which is now dropped, it's forgotten, is that you represent the dynastic element, Parivarvad. It is not that the dynastic element is not valued in BJP. If anything, the BJP is more dynastic than Congress as of today. So that is not the issue at all. In fact, the dynastic element is coveted in India. There's no doubt about it. Modiji finds it hard to stomach that you were born in enviable circumstances. Just consider this to understand the truth. Suppose you give to Modi a choice to be born either as the son of a chaiwala or the son of Rahul Gandhi. Which option would he choose? Undoubtedly the second choice. Of that I have no doubt. I don't think anyone in the senses would have any doubt. So that's not the question at all. You must understand certain things aright. Rahul, you often complain that Modi lies. In fact, it's a proven fact. But what you don't understand is that there is a certain logic to this. And you can understand that logic if you understand his situation, his condition, his circumstances aright. To be able to do so, let me recall and share with you that Hitler suffered from a condition called Pseudologia fantastica. It's a tongue-twisting name, Pseudologia fantastica. What does it mean? It means a tendency to believe in one's own lies. A person suffering from this psychological condition called Pseudologia fantastica, he will invent lies and he'll passionately believe in the lies he manufactures, and therefore to him the falsehoods that he deploys have the same status as truth. Lies are truth, and that is it is a recognized psychological state. Let me repeat the name. Pseudologia fantastica. That is the inclination or the capacity of an individual to believe in his own lies. So in this state, the individual concerned does not recognize that he is telling lies. He ardently, sincerely believes that he is speaking the truth. This is something you have to understand, because he has come to believe in what he has invented. So at the time of speaking, he sincerely feels that he is telling the truth. And that is this recognized psychological condition called, please check up if you are interested, Pseudologia fantastica. If you Google this, you'll get the correct meaning. So, in this condition, one's left hand would not know what the right hand is doing. And in its extreme stage, it becomes split personality. Paucity of time doesn't permit me to go into further explanations of this very fascinating psychological state. So let me quote to you, because this will help you to understand the situation, right? Let me quote you a few words that Carl Jung, the great psychologist, the Zurich-based psychologist Carl Jung, who visited India because he was fascinated by Indian mythology, a fascinating author. I'm sure you're familiar with Carl Jung's writings. After seeing Adolf Hitler at close quarters, this is what Carl Jung wrote about him. Carl Jung's first impressions about Adolf Hitler. I'm going to read that passage very slowly so that you can capture every bit of the nuance. This is what he says, and I quote, as this is his impression of Adolf Hitler. A sorry lack of education. These were the characteristics that struck him as very typical of Adolf Hitler. A sorry lack of education, conceit that bordered on madness, a very mediocre intelligence combined with the hysteric's cunning and the power fantasies of an adolescent were written all over his face. So what are the attributes? Lack of education, conceit bordering on madness, very mediocre intelligence, a hysteric's cunning, and the power fantasies of an immature person, an adolescent person. These were the characteristics that struck Carl Jung about Adolf Hitler when he saw him for the first time at close quarters. He goes on to say, the idol of an infantile public. Now he's criticizing the German public. He's saying that a person like Adolf Hitler came to power and he began to be seen and hailed as the savior of Germany because the German public was infantile. A mature, enlightened public would never accept a mediocre person like Hitler and idolize him. So the idol of an infantile public whose knowledge of the world is derived from the deified heroes of trashy films. I wish I had the time to explain every bit of what he says, but perhaps that is not necessary. You are a man of very ready comprehension, and I have always valued this in you. Your intellectual capacities are very impressive, and I salute you for it. That's the reason why I will not spend any more time explaining that text. So in light of what I've explained to you so far, Rahul, I would urge you to be more considerate towards Modiji as a person and more respectful towards him as our Prime Minister. That's where I stand. I don't even approve of the Gen Z flashing their characteristic weapon of ridicule and satire against Modiji. You may consider me to be too old-fashioned to be relevant today, but that's how I am and I can't help it. So if you sincerely believe that Modi suffers from insecurity and inferiority and you're entitled to your views, I don't dispute it, then you are bound to take my advice seriously, which is offered to you in good faith. As the former principal of the college where you were an undergraduate student, I deem it my duty to counsel you in this regard, in consonance with the ethos of the college. Aggravating the inferiorities of a fellow human being will do serious harm, and this is my main concern. Aggravating the inferiorities of a person, a fellow human being, will do serious harm not only to the person concerned, but also to the country as a whole, because in this instance, the person concerned is the Prime Minister of India. And that's the reason why I feel compelled, inwardly impelled, urged, forced to offer this advice. I uphold Modiji in my prayers, even if I do not approve of much of what he says and does. In the final analysis, it is true that a people get only the leaders and rulers they deserve. Jai Hind.